The body, though, is mechanical. You've got skeletons and arteries and your heart, which is just a pump. It's mechanical, and there are systems. And engineers love systems because if you figure out the system, we know that systems can malfunction and create problems, and then you can repair systems. We know that. So we just said, well, what is the system in the body creating all the fear?
Welcome to Elevate, the gathering spot for first responders, their families, and the communities that support them. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Elevate podcast. I have got a tremendous guest for you today. He has been on my other podcast, and when I first met him, and now I am happy and ecstatic to say that he is a friend of mine, and he is someone who I cherish deeply. Daniel Packard, everybody. Welcome to the show, Daniel.
Aw, thank you, Kyle. That feels nice. I feel the same way about you. I appreciate our friendship very much. Thank you for having me, and I love what you're doing in the world and how you're showing up for first responders. So it's an honor to be here. I'm grateful to be here, and I'm grateful to the first responders that are listening, because obviously they do the work that so many others won't, but is so needed. And they also need extra help and support because, as we know, they want to help, but sometimes they help so much, it's a little out of balance. So I want to help your listeners understand really how to be happy and healthy and show up for people continuously, because your audience wants to show up. They're leaders, they're helpers, but they need help too. And so it feels meaningful to help them help others.
Yep. I always like to think we need help before we know we like to help others before we even realize we need the help, so, and that's what the Elevate podcast is all about. I started the Elevate podcast in the middle of creating my mental health course because I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that as my progression through building my course, I found multiple options to deal with different things, PTSD, different, hypnosis, all kinds of different things. Right. And I like to bring a smorgasbord of ideas and thoughts that help people to the world. And that's what I do through Elevate. And having you on the show today is a full circle. You have actually truly helped me in a way I never thought. You're going to talk about a little bit. I'll first have you, introduce yourself and what you do and where you got your start and how this all came about. And then we'll talk about, some other things. But before we get to that, because of the time frame that it is, and it's actually more pertinent now for us to do the Santa off. Remember our first podcast, we talked about voiceover, and you said that you've got this amazing Santa, and it is now, this podcast is going to be airing in about the beginning week of December. It's no better chance right now to have the Santa off, and we'll have people comment in the comments which Santa they feel is a truer sense of the Santa. So yeah, because share, everybody real quick, share before we get into anything about you and what you do, share a little bit about your Santa and how it came about with your Santa.
Well, I'm happy to have the Santa off. That sounds a little naughty, but it's not. It's we're competing in Santa's impressions. I want to be clear that you're a professional and you're also Christian. My Santa is incredibly good for a Jewish kid from Berkeley, California. It's one of the leading Santas for Jewish people from Berkeley, California. So let's be clear. And mine came about absolutely accidentally. It was around Christmas time. I was about to say Santa time, which will let you know that I'm a little bit Jewish. And I was leaving a message for someone around Christmas, and I just felt inspired to do a Santa voice, and it came out, and I thought, oh my God, where did that come from? I'm a smaller, higher voiced gentleman, and I kind of nailed this deep, chubby Santa guy. And I don't know, past lives. I don't know. It just came out of me. That's how it came out. But once it came out, I went, oh yeah, I'm about to use this. So that's my story.
All right. Well, would you like to take the honors? Or you want me to go first?
I'll go.
Okay.
I'll go.
All right.
All right. All right. Here we go. me. I'm spraying fictitious singers spray in my mouth. All right. Well, I wasn't even prepared to do this, but here we go.
I know. Right. I was going to surprise it with you.
All right.
ho. Merry Christmas, everybody. This is the real Santa Claus. And Santa knows who has been naughty and who has been nice. And Santa knows that because your audience is first responders, we know that they have been very, very nice. So, from the real Santa Claus to the first responders, I say in advance, ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas, everybody.
So I think you're going to get the ho ho hos because I cannot be. That ho 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 is just over the top. That's amazing. So here we go.
Thank you.
So incredible. So,
Do you remember? Do you remember the spirit of Christmas, Daniel? Do you remember when you were a child and Christmas morning you felt the overcoming excitement of getting down to see what Santa left you under the tree?
that's mine. Ho 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 ho.
I mean, I think for commercial purposes, that's as good as you need it to be. So you have a good Santa Claus, but I'm just going to say it. I think mine is like from the soul. I am channeling something beyond
Chris Kringle, right?
reality. Yeah. So I think I won. I think
I'll
yours is
give
good,
yeah.
but I think I won. What do you think?
I think so. Yeah. We'll go ahead. We'll go ahead and give it to you. It's my podcast, but no, I'm just kidding.
I appreciate that. And I just want to be clear, when I tell your audience and when you share your story of working with the tools and the system we developed, a lot of times people say, Daniel, that's incredible. It sounds too good to be true. I want to be clear that one of the benefits is the Santa voice, because now I can go, ho, ho, ho. But before it was more of a Michael Jackson. So I just want to say that is the real growth. Is that this came out of me.
That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much. I know that blindsided you on even getting ready to do that, but I figured we'd have a little fun for a few minutes and be posted in that early December timeframe. Is perfect to talk about it. So real quick, Daniel, go ahead and share who you are, where you come from, all that good stuff, just whatever you do on your normal introduction. And then we'll get into a deeper conversation about everything.
Well, thank you. What I do, aside from moonlighting as world's top California
Santa Claus,
Berkeley Santa Claus, is basically we developed. I'm an engineer, and I'll tell my story in a bit. But what we do is we developed a system, keyword system, that quickly and permanently addresses the root cause of what we call the Funky Five, which is anxiety, procrastination, people-pleasing, perfectionism, and things such as low confidence, which is overthinking, caring what people think of you, fear of rejection, and fear of failure. And what's innovative about what we do is it's been engineered to get results, permanent results, measurable results, guaranteed results. And the reason that results matter so much to me and is the pillar of our company is that when I was younger, my dad, was a physicist and an engineer. And, he sat me down when I was a kid and he said, anybody can have a theory or an idea. You don't know if that's going to work. He said, it's the person that gets results that knows what they're talking about. Results matter. And that idea of results mattering was neat. I liked it. You're right. Results matter. Anybody can talk. Anybody can have a theory, but who's getting results? And I also was fortunate enough that my dad had a workshop that he let me play around in, like MacGyver and Ferris Bueller. And I would make things and build prototypes of things that a 13-year-old, 14-year-old would want. And then you would refine it until it works. And that satisfaction of, oh, this thing works, it gets the result that I want, was very satisfying to me. And I didn't know it at the time, but I was basically becoming an inventor and a designer and an engineer. And so I then went to engineering school to just be more properly trained. How do you look at a complex problem that seems unsolvable, breaking it down into mechanical pieces, and then you build a prototype? But as you can imagine, the prototype doesn't work in the beginning. It doesn't work. You get a bad result. So then you tweak it and you optimize and you calibrate until your design, your invention works. And it's a certain mindset, it's a certain attitude, and it takes a certain tenacity to be that kind of an inventor and an innovator and an engineer. So the good news was, I was good at making machines work, and I could make a robot that played ping pong, but I couldn't make life work. So I had anxiety, I had procrastination, I had people pleasing, perfectionism, low confidence. And like a lot of your audience, I go looking for help from a therapist, psychologist, spiritual teacher, personal development, faith, apps, meditations, retreats, advice. And I spent probably $100,000 and went to every type of person out there. And after about 10 years, all I could do was manage it. It wasn't never gone. It was still there, showing up, holding me back. I was stuck in this like hamster wheel, and I could keep going. It didn't stop me, but I wasn't as happy as I wanted to be. I wasn't as fulfilled as I want to be. I didn't like who I saw in the mirror, and I wasn't fulfilling my potential. And I was kind of sad and pissed one day. I kind of looked up to the sky, and whoever's up there pulling the strings, I was pissed. And I just said, like, what do you want from me? This is obviously a test. I'm trying to pass your test. What do you want from me? And I was just being angry. I didn't expect a response, but I heard this kind of download, this voice that said, results matter. And two things kind of just awoke in me. One is this $100,000 in the 10 years that I spent on therapists, psychologists, apps, spiritual teachers, and faith. It doesn't get great results, Kyle. I'm not dismissing the experts and the healers and the pastors and the rabbis and the apps. But 10 years and it's not a great result. It's just not good. If you go to the doctor with a broken bone and 10 years later and $100,000 later, the doctor's like, let's explore more of your broken bone. Let's gain more awareness. You would say you're a bad doctor. But this whole industry that I call now the improvement industrial complex, it's $1 trillion industry. Therapists, psychologists, coaches, they don't solve anything quickly, not permanently, not measurably. And I just woke up from that fog, and I just said, this is not unacceptable. So then the other kind of wake up was that I'm an engineer, and I'm trained to innovate and invent and build things that get results. So for myself, but also I think the world needed this, I started my own research company, Full Liberation Technology, with the mission to see, could we engineer a system that would address the root cause, that was simple, that got permanent results quickly in a matter of weeks, that was measurable and repeatable. And we just went after it. And me and my team, we worked with 3,000 people in 20 countries. I worked with addicts in South Africa. I worked with monks in India. I worked with athletes in the US. I worked with entrepreneurs in Europe. And honestly, it wasn't easy. I mean, it was really challenging. But the beauty of engineers and inventors, which I consider myself, we're tenacious. We go after a solution, and we just go after it until we get, it's a certain mindset and a certain tenacity. That's how you get inventions. Edison with the light bulbs and the Wright brothers with their plane, it was just tweaking and optimizing until they solve it. And so it took 8 years, but we developed this system that addresses the root cause, so that if you're struggling with anxiety, procrastination, people pleasing, perfectionism, or low confidence, it addresses the root cause quickly. It's easy, it's mechanical, and it works for pretty much everybody. And that's what we do now for people in pain that are stuck in a pattern and want to be happier. We present something that works and gets you the results. And it all started when my dad sat me down and just said, results matter. Because when you're in pain, results matter.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm here to say too that it's everything I can do to hold it together during this conversation, because I was struggling in ways that I didn't know I was struggling, and I had lost friends. I was up against the wall again when it came to my marriage, my family life, in general, not to the point of doing anything to harm myself or anything like that, but just that I wasn't feeling my full potential. And you and I met. I decided to, have you teach me all these things and get that training. And I'm telling you right now, just to follow up on the backside of something my wife said to me, and she's like, "Hey, listen, I've noticed that you're doing a lot better. Like, you're not as short, you're not as, you're not as snappy, you're not as, all these things that were issues that I knew were issues, and you're getting things done and because I came in and said, hey, my number one problem right now is I think procrastination, because I think it led to other issues. And I got validation that I was on the right track when her and I had a deep conversation just a couple nights ago. You can imagine it's now, when people are hearing this, it's a month after, a very big election in our states. And there was a lot of just a lot of uncertainty. And there was, if it wasn't for what I learned mechanically through you for myself, it could have been, no matter what, because no matter what side you're on, when you're someone who cares about people and serves people, you want everybody just to get along, right? And so it's emotional when, you've got friends and you've got friends on both sides of the fence, and they all of a sudden turn on each other, and what do you do? So it was a very, very eye-opening moment for me to have my wife tell me what she did that night. And I just want to thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you put together. I can't even imagine the hard work that went into what you've created. So like I said,
let me just say this. I want to make sure, thank you for sharing that and being honest with what you're struggling with. And I just want to share with your audience, I guess, to appreciate what you're hearing right now. Because, I go on podcasts and I share the important work that we're doing, because that's how we get the word out. And I'm very passionate, and I know based in results that what we have is innovatively effective. Most of your audience has heard people say, oh, I've got this thing and it's going to work so great. So your audience is probably listening going, sounds great. I'm skeptical. It's probably just another thing. And you don't know that what we've developed is an innovative, meaning your audience. So I want you to understand that to hear Kyle, say, no, this is real. I experienced, this isn't just another person saying I've got a better mousetrap. This is, would you say, Kyle, just yes or no, is what you applied, did it address the root cause quickly?
Yeah, quickly. Yeah. Not a day or two. I mean, quickly, when I think of quickly, I think of what forms a habit. And what a habit forming is usually anywhere between 6 weeks and 22 weeks, so yes, it to me, I've faced divorce in my life, and we took 2 years to fix it. Looking back, 2 years sounds like forever when you first are facing 2 years of reconciliation. But when you look back at it now, 12 years later, 2 years was a blip. So yes, very quickly.
So when I say quickly, and it's good to clarify, the system that we developed, it's 6 weeks. So that's what we mean. Yeah. And also, would you say just yes or no? Because a lot of times people, when they go to look for help, it's very confusing. Is it my mind? Is it my hormones? Is it the outside world? Is it the inside world? Is it my childhood? Should I do an ice bucket challenge? Should I walk on fire? Should I lick a toad? Should I do ayahuasca? When I went looking, it's very confusing and it's unclear what to do. Would you say just what you experienced, we tried to make it simple and so that anybody could do? Was that your experience?
1000%. Very simple, very easy to follow. Showing up was probably because of my procrastination, showing up was very difficult. But when you and I had a heart to heart, in the middle of it, not the middle of it, but a couple weeks into it, and that was the changing moment. And that was when I decided, like, this is amazing information. This totally makes sense, even in the beginning stages, but just making sure that I showed up and made sure that I, followed the program, followed the path, if you will, that it would, and I put my trust in the process, and putting my trust in the process has put me on the other side of so many different things that I know for a fact. And I think I shared with this to you on one of our voice messages back and forth. You used to, when we get a call, the tones happen, boop, 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 and they're really loud and they're really obtrusive to wake you up, right? Or if you're during the day, they just scare the crap out of you. And it's always a jump scare. And it was probably 2 or 3 weeks, past the completion of everything. And I'm like, those tones go off and I'm not jumping. Like, ooh, like there's something different. There's physically something different inside of me. And that's there's been those moments where I've realized, okay, what this work meant was a permanent change.
And that's the key. And I'm going to explain to your audience the sort of perceptual framework of how we pull this off so that they can understand it. And they don't think, well, how do you do that? How do you, I'll explain it to your audience in a bit, but also I can sit here and I can say what we're doing helps people quickly. You can say it, but still people are going to have doubts. And also they're going to say, well, maybe it worked for Kyle, but it won't work for me. And so I want your audience to know that at the end of the podcast, I'm going to send your audience to my website, danielpackard.com, and they'll be able to download a free 90-minute training that I put together. It's called From Stuck to Unstoppable. And what that allows your audience to do is experience this system for themselves, go deeper, see the root cause of what they're struggling with, and then they get to apply one of our techniques. Now, it's not the same as the full 6-week system and all the tools and everything, but it's one technique that you get for free, and you're going to apply it to something that you struggle with. And when you apply it, you will feel measurably different. And I want your audience to have that so that they can have an experience for themselves, because when people feel, just after 90 minutes, on a regular basis, people say that one technique I tried, one, showed me that I don't have to live in this loop forever, and it gave them hope, but also it was information that I wish just everybody knew. So again, I'll be explaining things, giving you knowledge. Kyle will be explaining his side of things, but experience it for yourself. And also I want your audience to learn what no expert, quote unquote, taught me. And I want people to know that. And that's in that 90-minute training, which again, they can get at the end at danielpackard.com. So I want to explain to your audience sort of, again, this perceptual framework of how we were able to address the root cause quickly. And it'll help. One, it'll be very valuable and informative for your audience. It's what I wish people knew. But also it'll help build a bridge so people can think, oh, that's how they're doing it. Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense that I don't have to live like this. So the approach that we did is we approached it like engineers and innovators. And we're trying to solve the problem. And that's part of why we figured this out. Coaches, therapists, spiritual teachers, they're just learner sharers. They learn something either from school, their experience, another teacher, and then they share it. And usually at best, it manages symptoms, gives you some awareness, some tips and tools, but it doesn't solve anything. And they're fine with that. They're fine learning and sharing and learning and sharing and making money and learning and sharing. But they're not trying to solve, because solving and getting to a solution is hard work. It's challenging. It takes years sometimes to do it. It took the Wright brothers 4 years to get that plane to fly. It took Edison 1,000 light bulbs. So it's a certain mindset. And ours was, okay, let's go at this to get a real solution. And the first thing we did was, we need to simplify this because it's so confusing. I have people talk to me all the time when they come looking for help, and they're like, I don't know what's going on. Is it my past? Is it my children? Is it my wife? Is it my job? It's a loop. Am I anxious? And they're just so confused. And I was confused. And it's confusing. There's so many people with so many different techniques. And we said, if you really know what you're doing, you should be able to look at something and have a simple explanation. Newton, 3 laws that describes pretty much all motion on the planet. 3 laws, simple. Einstein basically explains something that's incredibly complicated, E equals MC squared. It takes a certain level of intellect and tenacity to make complex things simple. So we said, let's simplify this. So here is a simple explanation and information that I want your audience to know. It feels like, and we're taught, that we have individual problems, meaning I am a procrastinator. Oh, I'm such a people pleaser. Oh, I'm a perfectionist. I have low confidence. I have low self-esteem. Oh, I'm such an overthinker. Oh, I have anxiety. It feels like there are multiple things and multiple problems. That's how it feels. That's what we're sort of told. And we're sold books on procrastination. Then there's another course on perfectionism. Then there's another course on anxiety. So we're sold all these different problems. But what the research showed was your audience does not have multiple problems. They have multiple symptoms of one thing, which is fear.
Yep.
So what that means is you could say you're a perfectionist, or you could say you're afraid to make a mistake. You could say you're a procrastinator, or you could say you're afraid to start or finish something. You could say you're a people pleaser, or you could say you're afraid people won't like you, so you make everybody happy and you put everybody else first. You could say you have low confidence, or you could say you're afraid to be your full, authentic self, and you could say you have anxiety or you're an anxious person, or you could just say you have a lot of fear. Does it make sense to you, Kyle, and I'm asking your audience, that what people are experiencing maybe aren't individual problems, but just symptoms of one root cause, which is fear? Does that make sense?
Does to me. Did to me when we first talked, and it does to me now, and experiencing the diving deep into what the root cause is and was. And yeah, 100%.
And you can testify that when we met, you said, I want to work on my procrastination. But really what we did is the system addressed your fear, and then the procrastination, which is a symptom, basically went down, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't teach you anything about motivation, vision boarding, setting up a structure. No, because that's just symptom management. And it doesn't work. I tried it because the root cause, the fear, is still there. So it's going to keep showing up. And not only is this true, because this is what the system is based on. This is how we get permanent results in 6 weeks, is because we go to the root cause. But also I want your audience to know that this is the reason you haven't gotten rid of this stuff. When you can't get rid of these patterns, we tend to think it's our fault, like there's something wrong with me. And I'm here to tell your audience, it's not your fault. The experts, while well-intentioned, had an incomplete understanding of the problem, and they were sending you to the symptom level. So at best, you were going to manage this, at best, but you were never going to solve it. That's why it's not gone. It's not your audience's fault. They're not broken. You don't have to live like this. And I hope it makes sense that if you get sent to the symptom level, you'll never solve it. Not because you can't or you're broken, but does it make sense, at least from a perceptual understanding, that if you actually got to the root cause of the symptom, that these symptoms could go away and not come back? Does that make sense?
Yeah, certainly. Absolutely.
And was that your experience when you went through?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah,
absolutely. And that's one reason why I wanted to have you on this podcast. The very first podcast you came on, it was talking about how your entrepreneurial self came through the process. And this podcast is something true that a first responder partook in, and feels that it could very much help other people and first responders if they have one of the funky five. Like I said, I didn't realize, I came in for the funky one and realized there was funky three, and got to the root cause of all three of them by focusing on the root, that core issue.
Yeah. And what's valuable about it, just from, first responders care about results. First responders understand the root cause, because whether it's a fireman, an EMT, policeman, you on some level are dealing with symptoms in society, and there's always a root cause. We always want to get to the root cause, and the value of the root cause is you get multiple benefits. I was working with a policeman who said, I have a little bit of anxiety. And when things get hard at work, it affects me more than it would like. It affects my performance. Obviously, I'm in a job where I can't be anxious because it affects my cognition, and in a job where there's split-second decisions. He said, but also when I come home, I'm just not the fully present, grounded father and husband I want to be. So that he came through for anxiety. He was skeptical. I said, I understand. He said, I've had anxiety since I was a teenager. I don't know how you're going to get to the root of this. And I said, I understand. But, we have a system. And I also told him that we have what we call our no change, no charge guarantee, which is you don't pay at the beginning because we haven't gotten you a result yet. I care about results. And I told him, you only pay at the end when you have clear, measurable results. And he said, wait, what?
Yeah.
Nobody does that. I said, I know.
You do. That guy does.
We do. And he said, well, that builds a lot of trust. And I said, why? He said, well, all these other people, they don't back up their results. I said, why do you think that is? He said, well, because they don't get results. I said, I know you can't run a business backing up results if you don't get results. And I said, so what do you, I know you're skeptical, but what does it mean that we back up our results where you pay at the end? He said, well, A, you're pretty confident in what you do. And he said, the fact that you still have a business means you're helping people. And I said, yeah. So he went through it. And around week 4, his anxiety went down from about 8 out of 10, 2 hours a day, down to about 4 out of 10 for about 10 minutes a day. And we know that because when you go through the program, we're tracking your symptom. People say, well, how do you measure it? We have what we call emotional biomarkers for procrastination, anxiety, people pleasing, perfectionism. So we knew through the app that he had measurable improvement, but also he said, you know, it's weird. I feel more confident. I'm more honest with my wife. I'm also getting better at setting boundaries. And there's a small business that I wanted to start, and I hadn't started it in years. And I actually I went to a bank to ask about funding. And he said, what's going on? I said, well, multiple symptoms. It's all one root cause. And he said, that's awesome. And he said, you don't charge extra for that? No, man, we probably should. So that's the power of going to the root cause. Not only do you get a permanent improvement, but you get multiple improvements in multiple areas. And that's what Kyle experienced. Now, people ask, well, Daniel, how the heck do you get to fear? Because whether I said it or not, your audience already knows that fear is an issue in their life. Usually people will say, yeah, I've got some fear. I've got some doubt. I've got some worry around things. And also I tell people, even if you don't think fear is an issue in your life, do you feel like you're hiding in the comfort zone? And people say, absolutely. I say, what do you think you're being comfortable from? They're like, oh, the fear. I'm like, right. You are afraid. You just created strategies to avoid it. And they're like, oh, I am afraid. I'm just avoiding the fear. I'm like, yeah, that's what's going on. So fear, doubt, worry is affecting people. Your audience probably already knows that on some level. So then the question is, how the heck do you address fear? I mean, that seems a little too good to be true. Well, this is how we did it. We were engineers, and we wanted to, because we saw that the industry of experts, usually when it comes to fear, it's overcome the fear, face the fear, change your mindset around the fear. And that sounds good, right? Face the fear, overcome the fear. Okay. If you get a tool or a strategy to overcome the fear, that's great short term. But why is overcoming the fear not a great long-term strategy? Why is that inefficient?
Because it comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah. It comes back and you're like, oh, see, another failed attempt at trying to fix my root.
Yeah. You overcame it. Good for you. I got some tools to overcome the fear. Didn't say anything about getting rid of the fear. So it's waiting for you 5 minutes from now, 5 hours from now. And also, even if I had a client who came to me and he had all these tools to overcome the fear and face the fear. He's still afraid. And then it's all this energy to overcome the fear and face the fear and change his mindset. Now, it helped him, these things he learned from this coach. But what he said is, Daniel, this is exhausting. The fear is still there. It's a lot of energy to overcome the fear, change your mindset around it. It's a lot of work. And I said, yeah, what if the fear was gone? He said, oh my God, then I'd have so much more energy to just go towards what I want. And that's what happened. He did our system. It healed the fear. And then all that energy to overcoming the fear and facing the fear and using his tools to change his mindset, that just went towards productivity. And I think his income doubled within a year because all that energy went from symptom management to rocket fuel. And that's what brings me joy. So now the question is, how do we address the fear quickly? And I want your audience to know this. So again, we're engineers. And we're like, okay, let's not face the fear, overcome the fear, change mindset around the fear. Could we solve the fear? And the first thing we did is we looked at what's out there available for fear, doubt, and anxiety. And we saw that almost everything was telling people that fear, doubt, and worry is a problem of the mind. You know, people will say like, oh, I got to change my negative mindset. You know, it's all about what's between the two ears. I need to change my scarcity thinking. I need to quiet my mind, quiet the ego. Also, it's called mental health. It's got the word mental. So primarily when it comes to fear and doubt, usually the experts are sending you to the mind. That's where I was originally sent. A lot of people are sent to the mind. There's just one problem. The mind approach gets crappy results. Anxiety's on the rise. Modern psychology has been around for 100 years, and our teens are ending their lives at a higher rate than ever. Addiction's on the rise. These symptoms aren't going away. It's not a good business model. And so the engineers and us just looked at that and we said, maybe it's not the mind. Because if it was the mind, this would be working better. And we saw that fear is not originating in the mind. The mind can say some negative, scary things that can create some fear, but that doesn't mean it's the root cause. We found that the negative, scary mind, the one that's critical and says negative things, and trust me, I know that because I used to have a mind that used to scare the shit out of me. It was like the Muppets, the judges from the Muppets on meth. The negative, scary mind is not the root cause of fear. That is also a symptom of where fear actually originates, which is the body.
Mm-hmm.
Fear starts in the body and then spreads to the mind. And you and your audience, if you just look at it, it kind of makes sense because it's the way we're mechanically wired. Your body feels what the body needs to stay alive. And then the mind is like a little tool or computer to get the body what it needs. You feel hunger in the body first. The mind senses the hunger and then figures out where to get food. If you're in the jungle and you hear something, all of a sudden you'll feel fight or flight in the body first. You'll feel it. People say, I feel fear, not I think fear. You feel fear in the body first. Then the mind goes, uh-oh, there's a threat and I need to solve the threat. Does that make sense at least? Yes or no?
100%. Yeah, makes sense to me.
So now, for reasons which I'll explain to your audience, there's something you're doing every day that you don't know you're doing about 30 times a day, and it's making your body feel afraid. And you don't know you're doing it. But then your mind senses the fear in your body and goes, uh-oh, there's a problem. And then it has to create a reason why you're feeling fear. You're a piece of shit. Don't try it. The world's out to get you. You're going to run out of money. You're going to die. It's going to create a narrative to explain why you feel the fear. Then once the mind starts saying negative things, it keeps you stuck in a loop, which we call the spin cycle. So it's not that the mind isn't part of it. It's just a symptom of where fear is actually originating, which is the body. Now, I'm going to say something else, but first, was that your experience, Kyle?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. And were you originally told that, fear was a problem in the mind?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
called mental health. It's got the word mental right in there.
Yeah, exactly.
And I want this information to your audience, one, because it's true. This is how we're solving anxiety and fear related symptoms, is by addressing the root cause in the body. But also, again, your audience wasn't taught this. So they've been trying to solve the problem at the mind level. You can't do it. And that's why you're still stuck, not because you're broken, not because there's anything wrong with you. This is not your fault, audience. It's because the experts, while well-intentioned, had an incomplete understanding of what's going on, didn't want to solve anything, and they just kept you stuck and sent you literally to the wrong location. But I'm telling you, when you go to the actual right location of the actual root cause, as you can imagine, your success rate goes up. Would you agree, Kyle?
Absolutely.
Now I'm going to tell, and I'm going to let Kyle share, but again, you're probably listening to this, your audience thinking, okay, that kind of makes sense. I feel fear, not I think fear. But again, at the end, I want you to get the free training at danielpackard.com so that you can experience this for yourself and have a real experience that the fear is coming from your body, and then apply one of the techniques which lowers the fear. That's what's going to make people go, oh my God, this guy is right. And if I go to the right place, I don't have to live with anxiety, procrastination, people pleasing, perfectionism, and low confidence. So I'm going to tell your audience more why the body is afraid. But first, do you want to share anything or say anything?
No, I mean, it was just everything. I mean, because I've lived through the process and debunked some negative thoughts about how, everything in my life, and was able to, put the techniques and the procedures into place that affected the core. And it makes a difference. I'm letting you know it makes a difference. I mean, some people out there that know me well enough, they know that if I ever write a book, I'm going to call it Chicken Fried Steak. It's one day I was caught in a grocery store for 2 hours looking for chicken fried steak. I come out to my partners. This was while I was on duty. I had a major incident happen to me a few weeks earlier, and I come out and I knew I was in some sort of a funk inside because I couldn't find the chicken fried steak that I promised the guys I would make them for dinner. Right. So once again, I don't want to disappoint my boys, right? But I come out and they're like, where have you been? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I've been here. I've been gone for 20 minutes. And I'm like, you guys left just right before I did. And they're like, no, Kyle, you were in there for 2 hours. I'm like, wait, what? No, I wasn't. They're like, yeah, you've been in there for 2 hours. I'm like, and you didn't think about coming and get me? He's like, well, the tones didn't go off and so many people in this area. We just thought maybe you were talking to somebody, but what were you doing in there? And I'm like, I was looking for chicken fried steak. And he's like, for 2 hours? I'm like, no, 20 minutes. It was this weird cycle. And I just, the chicken fried steak it takes me back to one of the first times that when I realized I was in this spin cycle for 2 hours on duty, I had to make changes. You know what I mean? And I made some changes, but then they weren't dealing with the core. And now that I've found you and I have gotten to know you and the process and understanding of the core, it's totally different. There will not be another spin cycle because I understand the core.
What you just said is what makes me the engineer, the inventor, the little boy who was told results matter. You're basically saying it's gone. And that is a small but huge thing, because again, we get apps, we get mindset, we get meditations. It helps manage it. It's a Band-Aid, but it comes back. And what Kyle's sharing with you is, no, it doesn't have to, if you address the root cause, which is in the body. And the other thing that's great about what we do is, again, it's simple. All the tools are included in one place and all the instructions are there. When I was struggling, I went to a coach and he would give me some technique for mindset. And it was just like, here, good luck. And I would try it and I would fail and then I'd feel broken. And we don't want people to fail because then you feel worse about yourself. And we're here to make you feel better. So part of the 8 years of research and calibration and testing was to make sure everything is included in one place, that there's easy to follow instructions such that if you work the steps, you get the results. And it's the speed that's impressive. I was on a podcast, a mental health podcast 4 months ago with this very well-known mental health expert who also had anxiety and procrastination. And he sampled our system and he said, this is incredible. And he said, I now don't have anxiety and procrastination. So I know that your approach works. But I said to him, when you tried it on your own, how long did that take you? And he said 10 years.
Yeah.
And then I said, we got it down to 6 weeks. He said, I know, it's remarkable. And then he said, also, I had to use the tools like 1, 2, 3 hours a day. And I said, our system, you're doing about a 4-minute technique about 5 times per day. So that's not a lot for 6 weeks, and busy people can do it. So, and the reason I'm bringing this up is this is what allows people to get these results. It's the system, that it's simple, it's step by step, the instruction, it's completely doable. And people need that because we don't want people to try things and fail. Now, the where the system goes is important, because if I say the body, that's kind of vague and abstract. So I want your audience to understand the big insight that we got, the innovation that we got, that then allowed us to build the system that gets the results. And this is important for your audience to know, just so they know where their fear is coming from, so they don't keep blaming themselves. Okay. We're engineers. We went looking, we said, where's all this fear coming from in the body? Now, the beauty of the body is way easier to understand than the mind. The mind, we know very little. There's like 1 million synapses and neurons. There's 1 trillion, I think, synaptic pathways. It's very complicated. People don't understand it. Like, all we know right now is, hey, we did an MRI, and when this guy ate a peach, this part of his brain lit up. Like, okay, that's not super helpful if I'm having panic attacks. So the body, though, is mechanical. You've got skeletons and arteries and your heart, which is just a pump. It's mechanical, and there are systems. And engineers love systems, because if you figure out the system, we know that systems can malfunction and create problems, and then you can repair systems. We know that. So we just said, well, what is the system in the body creating all the fear? And if it's a system, we can fix the system. Now we know what the system is. It took us a few years to figure out the system, but I want your audience to know what the system is. And again, everything we teach is super simple, and it's so simple, your audience on some level already knows the answer. But I've asked Kyle this, and I'm going to ask your audience. You already know what the answer is. But to you, Kyle, well, specifically to your audience, I'm going to ask your audience, if you had to guess, what system in the body is creating all this fear? To answer that, I want you to take out the word fear. I want you to take out the word worry. I want you to take out the word anxiety, and I want you to swap in the word nervous. And just say that on some level, human beings are experiencing different versions and intensities of nervous. A little bit of nervous, you could call worry. Lots of nervous, you could call fear. And a lot of nervous, you could call anxiety. So let's just say everybody's walking around feeling different symptoms of nervous. Okay, so what system in the body do you think is most likely malfunctioning and making everybody nervous? I'm asking your audience. Do you think it's A, the skeletal system, B, the endocrine system, or, wait for it, C, the nervous system? What do you think, audience?
I'm hoping they're all screaming nervous, nervous.
They are screaming nervous.
Central
They're not
nervous
screaming.
system. Yeah.
They're saying nervous system. And why do you think your audience just said nervous system?
Because it's right there in the name. Everything's in the name.
It's right there.
Like
Think about that.
Right there.
You got the whole planet experiencing different versions and symptoms of nervous. There's a system in the body with the name nervous right in there. And the mental health experts, after 100 years of research and getting crappy results, and Freud, who was a chain-smoking cocaine addict, I'm not throwing shade, I'm just saying that's not a good father of your industry. They said, no, it's the mind. No, it's not. You guys are in the wrong place. There's a system in the body called the nervous system. That's what's cranking out. And here's why. Your nervous system is your body's natural threat response system. Okay? If your nervous system is healthy, you feel a feeling which everybody wants to feel, which is safe, because there's no threat. However, if the nervous system isn't healthy, and I'll tell you why it's not healthy, you then feel unsafe. You feel like there is a threat, and you feel unsafe, and then you feel fear and nervousness and anxiety, and then all the symptoms: procrastination, people-pleasing, parental incompetence, etc. So, to your audience, but to you, Kyle, you know this. Can you see that maybe what's going on? We don't have multiple problems. We have multiple symptoms of feeling nervous because your nervous system, which should feel calm and safe, feels unsafe, creates this nervousness, which then creates all these symptoms. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the last time that, I try to think about things that cause instant nervous, being pulled over by one of my other fellow first responders, a police officer. Do you feel that up here, or do you feel it in your gut and like you're going to, you feel your stomach flip? That's the central nervous system, people. When you have that jump scare, that's not your brain saying you should probably jump now. It's your nervous system saying I'm reacting. So the central nervous system and the nervous system, as he explains, it's everything.
Yep. And is that a simple explanation of what's going on?
100%.
100%. It's a system in the body. It's got the word nervous right in there. We know systems can malfunction and systems can be repaired. Now, sometimes people who deal in professions and industry where there is threats, such as, you got firemen, EMTs, policemen. Actually, the policeman that I helped, he said, well, wait a minute. I'm in a dangerous job. Shouldn't I be afraid? And I said, well, good question. If you are in a very challenging situation with high pressure, that puts pressure on your system. It's a stressor, and you should feel stress. That's healthy. But stress is usually about 3 out of 10 to 4 out of 10. And usually it just lasts the duration of the thing. For instance, if you're running late to get an airplane, you might feel some stress, 4 out of 10, but then once you get on the plane, you calm down. That's stress. When your nervous system has pressure, you'll feel the challenge of life, whether it's your family, whether it's finances, whether it's your job. You'll feel pressure and some stress. But if you're feeling not 4 out of 10, but 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, and it's not lasting for 5 minutes, it's lasting for 5 hours and 5 days, and it's also popping up when you're not even at the job, but when you're sitting at house trying to Netflix and chill, that is not the pressure of life. That is that your nervous system is fragile, and when you push on it, it spikes, just like your teeth. If your teeth are strong, they can handle pressure. You bite into a carrot, your teeth can feel the pressure. But if your teeth are fragile, they haven't been taken care of, then you bite into the carrot. Instead of pressure, you feel this spike. But you don't think, oh my God, that's the carrot. That's because my dad fed me baby carrots when I was a kid, and now I have a carrot phobia. I have adult onset carrot pain disorder. No, it's not the carrot. The carrot's just the pressure. But if you feel it a lot, that's not the pressure of the carrot. That's that your teeth aren't strong. So yes, if you're in a challenging job, you should feel some pressure on your system. But if it's getting higher and it's limiting and it's lasting, that's because your nervous system isn't strong and it can't handle pressure. And when you push on it, you feel this extra. And what our system does is it brings your nervous system back to full health. So you have a full, solid foundation. That way, when life does push on you, whether it's your job, your family, finances, health, you'll feel some stress, but you won't feel all that extra. You won't get caught into these loops. You have this strong, solid foundation, which makes you better at everything you do. And you can handle more because your system is solid. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. 100%. 100%. Yeah. Cause that was one of my big fears is, because when I'm in a moment, when I'm in with an emergency situation, I need to be firing on all cylinders and confident that I've been trained and confident that I know what to do. And that's never been a problem with me. It's the aftermath, and it's how to control, the hours and days after, and being able to understand my nervous system and the root cause of things, and that core principle has been a game changer for me. Game changer.
Good. And the reason it's important for first responders is they have probably one of the, if not the most challenging jobs on the planet. You are pressuring your system constantly. Yep. And even if you can show up and push through it and white knuckle it, which your audience can, wouldn't it be better if they had a more stable foundation? Here's how it showed up for the policeman that we helped. This guy was a master sergeant. He'd been in it, I think, 20 years. Obviously, it's not stopping him. But the amount of worry, the worry after, and also his performance on the job was affected. But then also when he went through this and he got his nervous system strong and solid, what he told me was, in the challenges of his job, his system was just calmer. He still felt it. He wasn't a robot, but he felt it, but he didn't get pulled in these loops, and his cognition was incredible. But also, he didn't take it home with him. So his wife said, I got my husband back because he could go home. He could be present with the kids. He could be present with his wife. He was more grounded and open, and he didn't take the energy, the stress of his job home with him. So even if your audience is functioning in their first responder jobs, it takes a toll, and your audience knows that.
Yep.
It's not going to stop you. It's taking its toll on your happiness and your family probably. And if your audience could get a strong foundation, just like with the physical body, you work the core. And when you have a strong core, you can handle things more. So would you say to your first responders that forget anxiety, procrastination, people pleasing, perfectionism, a little confidence, would you think it makes sense for a first responder to have this tool to bring your nervous system back to full health, so it's strong and solid, and then it could handle the challenges of their job?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I was at a conference last week, and one of the docs that got up and talked, when we have a physical injury, we go to physical therapy, and being able to, there's no physical therapy out there until I met you for my central nervous system. And now there is. So if you think about if you've ever been injured, and most first responders listening to this have been injured at some point in time, and they've gone through physical therapy and they've gotten better, and it's gotten strong again, and it's sometimes better than it was before. And now, we can do that now with our nervous system that affects everything about us. It affects our on-duty persona. It affects our off-duty persona. It affects everything about us. And to write that, to get that to a ground level that's healthy, of a healthy nervous system, everything is different in my life now. Everything. My approach to others, when people are possibly upset with me, when I've disappointed someone through not through anything nefarious, but when I've I've messed up, sorry. But it's just I'm grounded. That's the only way that I can explain it, is I'm grounded, and I've got a better starting point for every situation I'm in.
That's it. Well said. You're grounded.
Yeah.
You wake up grounded and solid. And it's because a nervous system, if it's not taken care of, and this is why everybody's nervous system is out of whack, because nobody was ever taught to take care of it. We were taught to brush and floss. We were taught to get enough sleep. We were taught enough to drink enough water. We're taught the food pyramid. We're taught basic daily hygiene for many systems in the body. And if you're taught to take care of a daily system, the system generally takes care of itself. The issue was the experts were asleep at the wheel and didn't think, oh, you know that system in the body that's got the word nervous? Maybe we should figure out how to take care of that bad boy, or else we're going to have problems in that system too. I don't know why they didn't see it. Seems pretty obvious. So this system that's regulating fear and threats, if that's off, your whole system can't function. And this is just another system. But the issue is your audience. It's not that you're broken. This isn't your past that's creating this. It's that you were never taught daily hygiene of your nervous system. You're actually taught poor habits. So and there's basically 30 things a day that you should be doing to take care of your nervous system, but you were never taught them. Right. And that's what's going wrong. You were never taught how to take care of it. That's why it's malfunctioning. In this program, you're taught how to take care of the nervous system every day. Little simple things, basic daily hygiene. The nervous system will heal, just like a bone will heal, your tooth will heal, a heart can heal if you get it what it needs. And when you have a healthy nervous system, what you feel, which is what we deeply want, and is the foundation of being a happy person, is you feel, your default is to feel safe.
Yep.
Unhealthy nervous system, you feel there's a threat, unsafe. Healthy nervous system, no threat, you feel safe. So does it make sense to your audience that if you just woke up every morning with this foundation where your default is safe and grounded, does it make sense that all these other areas of your life would improve?
Does to me. I mean, I'm living proof. There's so much improvement on every aspect of my life right now. I feel like a better leader. I feel like a better husband, a better father. I know for a fact that I reacted with my son with something a few weeks ago that would have been totally different unless I knew that I had this common ground and this grounding, that I could not jump to a conclusion or jump to, fight fear with fear, and that's not how we do it anymore. We don't fight fear with fear. We accept, we have this grounding, and it's just, I mean, Daniel, everything you've done for me and everything I've learned it's literally probably, it's right up there with one of the top 5 things that's affected me in my life.
It warms my heart to hear that.
The birth of my children, it's number 1, always. That's profoundly changed me. I used to, I made a huge change when I went to Alaska when I was in high school. That was a big change. I was a way different person before and after that trip. My marriage and, probably my mental health crisis that I had, and then now this on the backside of it. Sorry, I'm getting a little choked up, but it's that profound. I mean, I haven't been able to have that long talk with you yet since I've finished. And I just want you to understand how much I appreciate you and what you did for the universe. If people just go find it and figure it out and be a part of it.
Thank you. We built this, we were engineers that cared, and we did it to get people what you're experiencing. This is why we do it. So it's very meaningful that, to even be listed in the category of birth of children is sacred ground.
I don't know how to, I mean, that's how profound it is. I mean, it's one of those, it's like, wait a second, this has single-handedly changed everything about me. And people are noticing. I'm getting my wife coming up to talk to me. I got a thank you from my dad. You know what, the other day when you came down to check on me, he goes, that meant a lot. And we're not going to get into details of what I was checking on him about, but it was something that I knew was bugging him, and I made the effort. And normally I would have just gone about my day, tough it out, tough it up, buttercup, and it wasn't. I feel a lot more empathetic, sympathetic, sympathetic nervous system, go figure. And it's just one of those things where it's profound. I mean, that's the only word I can use. I don't know any other explanation. It's a profound difference for me now compared to when I started. Now it's been a little bit more than 6 weeks that I've been done even. So, but yeah, since prior. So,
well, like I said, it's why we do it. And the other reason it's meaningful is the shift was profound. It was fast. But is it fair to say that you got this profound shift in a way that was simple and that pretty much anybody can do?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Anybody can do it.
Yeah.
It's a commitment. I mean, but what isn't? Our jobs are a commitment. Our children are a commitment. Our marriages are a commitment. There's a commitment. Now needs to be a commitment to ourselves that we can do this, and we can find that ground that we so may not even realize we need.
Yeah. And also the value, which I know you shared with me, and I want to share it your audience. Any first responder is a leader, and they want to show up in the world, not just to save people in their job, but their families. And, I have clients who come to me who are struggling with something like anxiety, perfectionism, low confidence, and they'll say, I'm passing this on to my kid. I can see it. And I can't stop it. There was he wasn't a first responder, but he was in a profession where there was a bit of, he was a fire jumper. He wasn't a fireman, but he would go get job, I guess.
For like forest fires. Yeah.
Yeah. And he would do it, when the wildfires in California would get really bad. And, he said, I've got some anxiety and I've got this low confidence, and I can see it's affecting my teenage son. And I learned it from my dad. I'm passing it on to my kid and I can't stop it. And I said, I know, because one, you're not trained how. And I said, I'm going to show you. First, we're going to help you. But because this is simple and you're going to build a daily habit, you're then going to model this for your child. And it often affects the child. He said, if you could do that, I would do it just for my child. And I said, okay, well, let's get you some help first, which is something you got to tell a first responder. Let's help you first.
Yeah, you got to put the mask on you first.
Right. And he said, good point. I said,
well, no firefighter ever goes into the fire without his SCBA on, period. I don't go into an emergency situation without my PPE on to protect me. So
he went through, and it was interesting. And this is how we know what we do goes very deep to he said, normally when I'm at work, of course there's a fire. And he said, but I'm really on the edge. I'm functioning, but I'm on the edge, and my stuff starts to happen. And he said it wasn't a huge fire, it was a medium fire. And he said during the fire, he said he was one of the calmest he'd ever been in his life. And that's trippy, to be in a somewhat life-threatening situation, and he was calm. And he said, that was weird. And I said, I know. I have weird experiences too, where I'm like, how am I this calm?
Yeah.
But he also said his confidence has gone up. He has been more vocal. He's been more communicative with his wife. He got promoted. But then he said, this is what I'm so grateful for. And I said, what? And he said, my child came home from high school, and I asked my kid how they were. And he said, my teenager said, well, I got bullied today, but it didn't really affect me. And the client said, he turned to his kid and said, wait, what? You normally get these panic attacks and it messes you up for days. And my client turned to his teenager and said, what happened? And they said, well, I've been watching what you've been doing. And I started applying what you've been doing to me. And I don't know, I didn't like the bullying, but it just didn't affect me. So to the parents out there that are listening, that not only want to be better, happier, calmer people without these patterns for yourselves, but also to help your children, because we're addressing the root cause, and because we have a simple, and you build a daily habit, which your kids are going to pick up on, you're able to then help your kids, because nothing's more heartbreaking than seeing a child struggle and you can't help them. So this program helps you, it addresses the root cause, but it also helps your children. And we're excited about that, because that's a lot of benefit.
It's generational.
Yep.
It's generational.
Yep.
Man. Wow. Well, Daniel, I could sit here and talk to you all day. You know, I could do that. We've done it before. So I just want to make sure that we wrap up in a, I think everything you've shared has been profound. Again, I those are the words that the only words I can find. So, listening to this, of course, if you hear any part of this that resonates with you, reach out to Daniel. Go to danielpackard.com to get that 90-minute lesson and find and see for yourself, like I did, and saw real change, not perceived change, real change. That's going into multiple layers of my life. I mean, just like your firefighter friend, that went through the program in the middle of the firefight. I too have seen something in a very stressful cardiac arrest situation. I can't go much further than that. And people came up to me afterwards like, dude, you are like, that was one of the best arrests I've ever been a part of. How were you so calm? We had mistake, and we had not mistake. We had problems persisting around every corner, another problem, and you just fixed it. You just said this, and it was all because I've got this new grounded, state of being and the root cause of what would have not allowed me to be that calm. So I thank you so much. If you're listening to this and any of this resonates with you, please, or even better, if you're hearing this and it makes you think of someone, share it. There's a little button on your phone or on your computer. You can share the episode and let that person hear this and start spreading this information. That's one reason why I wanted Daniel to come back on this podcast, because Elevate Podcast is all about giving options and real tools that we can help our first responders. And so we can, one, retain our first responders, and two, make sure that we have a future of first responders. Because right now we're in dire need of both retention and recruitment.
And I want to share something extra just because I really do want to help your audience. So I want to tell them what I want to offer them. And first of all, just to be clear who this is for, because we talked a lot about, nervous system and threats and symptoms. But I want to just say who this is for. It's for people that have a symptom like anxiety, procrastination, perfectionism, people pleasing, low confidence, and you have gone looking for answers and symptoms. And no matter what you try, no matter what you do, it just never goes away. It keeps showing up. And at best, you can manage it or handle it, but it's not gone. And it's just keeping you from just being happier, more fulfilling your purpose, being the person you want to be, showing up for the people around you, your family and yourself. And you want something that'll get you free of this so that you can be happier, fulfilled, fulfill your purpose, show up every day, and just really be happier. And so what I want to offer your audience is, again, go to danielpackard.com, and I'm going to offer your audience an opportunity to book a free 20-minute coaching call with me. Once they book that free 20-minute coaching call with me, I'm going to send them not only the 28 ways that we don't take care of our nervous system, because that's very illuminating. And people are going to go, oh my gosh, no wonder I feel unsafe. But then I'm going to send you the 90-minute training from Stuck to Unstoppable, which is going to give you a ton of value. And again, you're going to apply one of our techniques so you can feel this. But then when we do have our 20-minute coaching call, you're going to tell me how the technique went and what you learned. And I'm going to coach you to take what you learned in the training to get even more benefit and value in multiple areas of your life. So again, if that sounds good to you, danielpackard.com, book that free call. I'll then send you the list of the ways we need to take care of our nervous system and the 90-minute training. And after you watch that, we'll have our free coaching call, just so I can help your audience just have that solid foundation so that they can be the best EMTs for themselves and the world, because we need them to be the best they can be. Life is on the line.
Absolutely. All right, Daniel, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It is always a pleasure to spend time with you and hear everything over again and understand that it is clear as clear can be now to me compared to before. And it's wonderful. So don't forget to everybody to like, share, subscribe, let people know about this episode. And once again, if you need any help within this area, reach out to Daniel, reach out to me. That's all we are servants of our world. And this is how we're serving people when we're not on the street doing it. So thanks a lot. Talk to you later, Daniel.
That's a wrap for this episode of Elevate, brought to you by Frontline Empowerment Solutions, your partner in building resilience and fostering continued growth. If you found something valuable today, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who could use it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our next conversation. We're here to bring you more stories and insights, all aimed at strengthening the first responder community. Together, let's keep elevating each other, one episode at a time.